So let's discuss missing data handling. So we are having drinks dataset and we can quickly see if there is anything missing in the dataset. So you can see like there are 193 records and we have 193 records for each of these columns except one column which is continent. So it looks like there are 23 records which are missing now. So in order to see which all 23 records are missing, we can explore this data further. We can actually have another statement which will help us in identifying this thing. So let's do one thing, like let's focus on continent only and let's use value underscore counts method. And here you see like we have Africa 53, 45, European region and Australia and other continents. So I want to show you the documentation for value underscore counts method. So in this documentation you will find we have an attribute drop NA and it is true by default. So that means it is removing the missing data automatically and it is not even showing here. So if you want to see that, what we will do, we will say drop NA to false. And then when we run it, can you see NaN 23? That means out of 193, 23 are missing. And these 23 are NaN, not a number. So that's why it is showing 170 here, right? So we have to pass this argument drop NA equals to false so that we can see the elements which are missing or the records which are missing for this particular column. So we just saw that. So now we want to sum it up so we can quickly see drinks dot continent dot is null. So now we can see like we just did drinks dot continent dot is null and we are able to see 0 to 193 and there are some values which are missing, but we don't see that right now. So in order to see the total sum, so we can simply apply sum after this. We got 23. So there are 23 continents which are missing. So this is another way to know if there is anything which is missing in any of the columns. So we know which column it is missing and that's why we are specific to that here. So we can even retrieve those rows which are missing. So we can say drinks and we apply a filter here and continent and is null. And after that, when we run it, we can see. So these are the rows which are having missing continents. So I can simply say that I want to keep only those records which are not null. So I can say drop NA and if I run it, then I got 170 records and there are 6 columns. So it has removed 23 rows which are having missing continent. So drop NA will help you in removing the missing data completely from our data frame. But we can have fill NA. So fill NA will help us in filling the missing data with the right value. So we'll be looking into that. But before we go into fill NA, I want to focus on some other aspects like I want to show you, like if you want to plot it very quickly, let's say you want to see, because when you are looking at your data, right now the data set size is small, so we can see very easily these are the records. But if you want to visualize it, let's take this example and let's try to visualize this in the form of plot. So I'll just say copy and I will paste it here and I will remove continent. So and then we can also have plot method and I can say kind equals to bar and I plot it. So this gives me an indication that continent is having 23 missing values and others are fine, other data is fine. So this technique can be used for data validation also, like the way I was explaining, we have data validation step. So we can actually apply this technique for performing basic data validation before we move to the next steps. So we just saw drop NA method, but that was a very high level introduction to drop NA. So let's delve deeper into drop NA method and let's start exploring it. So when we have drinks dot drop NA, let's do question mark and see what is there in drop NA method. In the documentation, this part is very interesting. This part shows any or all or like we can specify the threshold. So we are saying how do you want to drop? By default it is any. So that means if any of the columns is missing right now, then it will drop that particular entire row. So 23 rows were completely removed, even though there was only one column which was missing, continent. So what I can do here is I can say how equals to all. So when I run it, then it means that I will be removing my rows from the data set only when all columns in that row are missing. So that is how is equal to all. And here we have 193 because there is no row in my data set which is having all columns missing. So that's why it did not do anything. It is same. The results are still the same, 193 rows and 6 columns. But if I say how equals to any, which is the actual default option, that means that we are removing those rows which are having any of the missing columns. So when I do that, I have 170 and 6. So 23 rows gone, right? Because the continent is missing in those. So let's see another example. We'll go back to the documentation, and here we have by default axis as 0. That means it is doing row wise removal, but we can also do column wise removal. And we can say that for this particular column we will drop the column only when maybe one cell is missing, or maybe all are missing. Then based on that you can remove. You can also specify like some threshold. So based on threshold, if you want to remove, let's say you want to remove those rows which are having more than 50% of the data, 50% of the columns missing, so you can remove those rows or columns, right? So you can define that threshold, right? So there are many other interesting attributes that you can try it out. So now it's time to actually populate this data. I would highly recommend just play with these and then get some idea like how it is working. You will get fair amount of idea. Just copy this code and create some test data and start playing with these syntax. In the documentation itself it is given. So let's say we want to populate the data. So we have continents, and we want to populate with, we want to do fill NA, and we want to populate with a value, maybe some value, maybe let's say I'm saying North America, right? So we are populating continent, and we have this 193 we have populated with North America. So I want to see what is there now in the value underscore counts. So value underscore counts. So we have these values because I did not do in place equals to true. So let's do in place equals to true so that this is persisted. And after that we will run this again, and when I run it again, can you see NA 23 are NA now because I substituted the missing continents with North America, and I am able to get it like this. So this was about missing values. How do we populate missing values? And I also want to show you there are other strategies also of doing fill NA. So I'll just do question mark, and you can see we have other ways of populating missing values. So I was talking about backward fill, forward fill, and there are other strategies also. If we go down further, you will find that we have like forward fill. So this is our data frame, and in this data frame, when we are doing forward fill for this data frame, then we are saying that we want to populate 3 3 3. So that's why it is 3 3 3, and here it will become 4 because we are doing forward fill. And if you do backward fill, then it will be like other way around. So you can try that, but I hope you got some idea about the forward fill. Yeah, so this was about missing data handling.